Welcome to the only wrestling podcast that covers the WWE developmental system from its inception to modern day. From OVW to MCW to HWA, Deep South, FCW, and much more. Hosted by Brian Asbury and Mortimer Blankenship. Now let's dive into what could have been, what should have been. Welcome to Developmentally Speaking.
Hey everybody, I'm Morty.
And I'm Brian.
And on today's episode of Developmentally Speaking, we have Von Lilas. Von, how you doing?
Great, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming on. It is an honor. Watched you for many years. Being from Seymour, you were definitely one of our heroes back in the day.
Nobody's ever said I was a hero.
Oh, well, for us, you definitely were. The first question.
I got food in my teeth right now.
That's okay. I do too.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The first question that we have for you is, what made you get into wrestling?
Question already? You don't say hi, how's it going, anything like that? What's up, man? Haven't seen you for a while. Haven't seen you since convention.
Big time.
Sorry I was late getting the link to you. Sorry you had to ask for the link to get on our own show, nothing like that. It's just first question. Why were you in wrestling?
We're businessmen, man. Just straight business.
We had a time limit here. What's the time for this thing?
Until you kick us out.
Until you tell us you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I might have to tell my daughters tonight. They got school tomorrow.
Okay.
But besides that, I'm good for a little bit.
Awesome. Okay. So fine.
So how's everything going? How's Lilas Studios going?
Well, there you go. Plug my studio before you get into these questions.
Absolutely.
Lilas Studios is good, man. Me and Rip just put out episode 23 yesterday. So yeah, it's going good. I'll plug it now. Lilas Studios, Wrestling with Rip Rogers. Go to YouTube and subscribe. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're gonna have Rip get drunk live on YouTube. And hopefully we don't get kicked off.
That'll be your last episode.
He hasn't drank since 1986. The last I looked, I think we're up to like 962. So we'll be there before you know it. Hopefully, we usually record on Fridays, so we'll see what happens this Friday.
Right, absolutely. I do love the background. I like the ring setup.
Oh, I like your background way better. This background is just a drop. It's actually a boxing ring that Rip hates because it's a boxing ring. You can kind of see the 4 ropes. It flaps in the wind. I got wrinkles everywhere. I've never put it out to like iron it or anything. So it's not really good. But you guys got the. I mean, we got the foam things and stuff for some of the echo. This room used to be real bad. I got some down there. I still got a whole bunch down there on my floor that I even got the green screen over there. Painted a wall green. I got all the stuff down there to try to get rid of some of the echo, but I still got to fill in the walls. But I like it. What do you guys got? LED? Are those LEDs back there? What do you got back there?
Yeah.
I bought some. I just never put them up.
Yeah, it's we just got a couple of ring lights over here and over here. We got the LED lights down on the floor. We painted the whole room black. Well, Brian did. Brian painted the whole room black, put all the pictures up, put the egg crate stuff up. And then there's a big TV directly across. Like I have the computer in front of me, and there's a big TV directly across.
What's the point of the TV? You guys look at it or what? What's it got?
Yeah,
like the whole show on it right now?
Yeah, you can see ourselves.
Yeah.
See exactly what we're looking at, yeah.
So your LEDs are on the floor right now? They're not?
Yeah, they're just on the floor shooting.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we won't bore anybody else with that. You can edit that out if you want. But wrestling, let's get to wrestling then. Yeah, I was from Seymour, Indiana, the home of the legendary Hustler Rip Rogers, the legendary Rob Morgan, a.k.a. Rod Steele, the Steel Man, the legendary Lucky Scott Sandlin, the legendary Danny Holly, a.k.a. Danny Basham, a.k.a. the Damager. Who else? I mean, who else from pro wrestling has been around that area? A bunch. So I grew up watching it. I've known Rip Rogers since he was probably 5 years old, or since I was 5 years old, maybe even less. When Rip was in the territory days and he would travel all over the world, he would come back to Seymour about once a year, maybe once every couple of years, whatever it was, and he would put a show on in Seymour, sometimes at the Armory when I was a kid, real little kid, I mean. when I got a little older, he ran some high school shows, and he always had my dad, the legendary King Carl Von Dilligan. He'd always have my dad be basically the promoter for the show. So my dad would sell the tickets, get all the sponsors, go around town and just push. And then Rip would, come in a couple days before the show. He would always come to our house a couple nights before the show, which for me was like Christmas. I mean, when I knew Rip Rogers was coming over to the house to sit down and count the pre-sale tickets with the King and go over kind of the game plan for the day of the show and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I was in heaven. Rip would come with the bleached blonde hair, the bandana. Half the time he would not wear a shirt or take his shirt off, be posing with us and me and my sister and all that good stuff. So I was hooked. I was hooked from birth, man. I would watch Memphis Wrestling on Channel 3. I would watch Dick the Bruiser and that group on Channel 4. That was always on Saturday mornings when I was a kid. And that was the highlight of my weekend. I didn't do a lot of cartoons and stuff like that. It was wrestling. So was always into it. I got started late. I can tell the whole story. You can ask me more questions, whatever. I'm sure we'll get there. But yeah, I grew up with it, man. Pretty much I grew up with it.
Right. So other than local people, who were your favorites as a kid?
Well, back then you got to realize local seemed like it wasn't local. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that that the whole world wasn't watching Memphis wrestling. Mm-hmm. I had no idea as a kid. There was no internet. There was no national. Even when I was a little kid, if the WWF was national, it was not. I mean, you guys know years and stuff. I don't know years. When was the first WrestleMania? What year was that?
84.
84. So I was 11. So even before that, probably. I mean, I remember watching like Gorilla Monsoon and whoever else was the announcer. I didn't realize what was local and not local. I thought Memphis was I thought everybody watched it. When I watched Dick the Bruiser, I thought everybody was watching Dick the Bruiser. I had no idea. So, what was the question?
Who was some of your favorites other than the local guys from Seymour?
I don't know if you call them local, like Austin Idol. I loved Austin Idol as a kid. I loved Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy Valiant as a kid. I remember I just like those kind of more flamboyant, like the Rip Rogers, because I love like Michael P.S. Hayes as a kid. Those are the ones that stick out off the top of my head right now. I loved Austin Idol, man. I thought he was.
And he's.
And Jimmy Valiant. Jimmy Valiant was just. I like Lawler and some of those guys. I guess you called them local. Hell, they were in Memphis. It's not really local. I mean, they did come to Louisville. And then as I got older, I never really got into the WWF a whole lot, really. I mean, I don't know why. I was like the jobber. I like the guys who, like Bob Orton, like Barry O. Like I like the just guys that, I don't know. I never really got into Hogan much or any of those names too much. I mean, some of the mainstream guys, I don't really care for a lot of his stuff now, but I did like Jericho back in the day. I really liked him. I liked Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. That I really liked him a lot back in the day. So those are kind of some mainstream names that I really liked, I guess.
I know Jimmy Valiant. We've talked at the Oktoberfest with Jimmy, and
yep.
I think you and I are kind of cut from the same cloth when it comes to what we liked when we were younger. Because I love the outlandish characters. That's just exact. For me, that's what a wrestler was. Because the over the top gimmicks, over the top characters is.
Yep.
And that's what I believe is lacking in today's product. Is they're just too cookie cutter and worry about moves more than telling a story. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they've come and go. They've done both ways on that. So, back in whatever. Again, I'm terrible with years. I want to say the '90s when it got real gimmicky. Whenever it was like Duke the Dumpster, Drosy, and Sparky
It's like
Plug,
90,
and
92, 94.
Skinner. Everything was a gimmick there. It was way too cartoonish and that kind of stuff. And then they went to all models, and everybody looked the same. Even like when the Orton came in, and Orton and Jinder, there was a whole slew of guys that were clean cut, athletic looking, kind of looked the same. And then they got, then it got kind of like, even with Bray Wyatt, you could go through a list and I wouldn't be able to name them right now, but it seemed like maybe it's even that way now. Everybody was kind of not everybody, but they had many more heavier, bearded, long, straggly hair kind of guys. Mm-hmm. So I think it just goes in waves. But as far as like characters, gimmicks, yeah, they don't have a ton. Not that Austin Idol was really he wasn't really he wasn't a Sparky Plug character, but he was
right.
He was a bodybuilder. He had the long blonde hair, the bleached blonde hair. I think a lot of guys back then, they just had the bleached blonde hair, if nothing else. That stood people. Buddy Landell, a bunch of those guys. Absolutely. Tommy Rich. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, I just thought I thought wrestlers should. My thing is, yes and no, larger than life. Even if they're not larger than life, just something different. There should be something different. Like, that guy's a wrestler. That guy's something. Right. That guy's nowadays. When you say cookie cutter, yes, you could see. And I'm not taking shots at anybody, but you could see like a CM Punk. You could see him in an airport, probably in jeans and a hoodie. If people aren't smart to CM Punk, they're not going to know he's like a wrestler. But if you see Austin Idol in jeans and a hoodie, you're still going to say that's somebody. You know what I mean? That guy's somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So, getting into your wrestling career, when you started out,
or what made you start? What made you make that leap?
Oh, okay. My question. Thanks.
What you got? Is that your question?
Yeah, what made you finally? You said you started late. So what made you finally?
Yeah, so really, I think I was always kind of chicken shit. Well, at the time, Rip was living in Seymour when I was still in high school, and then he was, I think, 92. I think he was in WCW then, spending time. Maybe he's getting started in OVW, but he was driving, I know, a lot to Atlanta to do WCW. But living in Seymour, I see him at Crossroads all the time. So I was always, I want to be your manager. I want to be your manager. That was always my thing. I just want to get in, be a manager, whatever. And never really thought about. I don't think OVW was going on quite yet in '92, was it? I don't think it was.
It wasn't what it was known for. Yeah.
Right.
And so Rip was like, graduate from high school, kids. So I'm like, hey, I graduated high school. Let's do this thing. He's like, oh no, you got to go to college, get your education. So I went to college, and I remember when I was at IU Southeast, I was actually in a class with Nick Dinsmore, and I just went on Wednesday night for TV and watched Rip beat the hell out of Nick Dinsmore, and I see Dinsmore the next day in my computer class at IU Southeast in New Albany, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere, and then I look at his computer screen, and he's got like WWF stuff up or whatever, and I was like, oh, he's the guy that wrestled Rip last night. So I said, hey, man, you OVW, right? I just watched you last night against Rip. So me and Nick actually sat by each other in a computer class at IU Southeast. So I would go and watch the TV show and some of the shows down there with Rip at the time. I think that's even when I was like a Seymour Punk. I don't know if you ever saw any of the old me and T Weasel, Manny Valverde, and Scott Sandlin, and we'd dress up in Seymour stuff, and we would carry these signs that like the people on the street begging for money, like
yeah.
We'd take the cardboard and we'd write on there like Seymour Punk's rules, like RULZ. It was me and T. we were on TV some too, and or a lot of TV actually, yeah. And just had the signs. I wore my brother's football jersey, I remember, and I was in college at that time, I believe. So anyway, I could be way off on that. I'm terrible with all this stuff, but I just remember when I was done with college, I said, Rip, I want to get in wrestling like more or whatever. He said, get a job. So then I got a job, So then finally I did all of it. And then he took me, he said, all right, pick me up at the gym. and I drove him to Illinois, somewhere outside. We argue about where it was, somewhere in Illinois, and I was his manager against the Colorado Kid, and I remember Dutch Mantel was on the card, some other people, but it was at an elementary school, and I had a taped up pencil as the gimmick.
Oh yes.
And I'd pass it back and forth, and some little kid, probably first grader, second grader, stole it out of my pocket during the match, and the security came and got the kid and took the gimmick and gave it back to me during the match. So
Security guard gave you the weapon.
So I could keep giving it to Rip during the match.
I love it. Ah, that's good.
So then finally, to get to the answer to the question, that kind of got me in a little bit. I was teaching at Muncie Central, and I was coaching baseball, and we had to do fundraisers or whatever. So I was talking to Rip, and he was like, "Why don't you just do a wrestling show as a fundraiser? And then we'll put you in like the Battle Royal or whatever." And that was, I don't know, 2000. Cena was there, and Cena, Benjamin, Flair, Jindrak, O'Hare, Conway, Dinsmore, Red Dog, or Rodney Mack, whatever his name was.
This was in Muncie Central?
Yeah, Muncie Central. So I put on a show as a fundraiser.
I think that might have happened like a few years before I started.
I want to say 2002. When was Cena down? When did Cena get called up?
2002.
Yeah.
Might have been right before he got called up. It was like 2002.
Yeah, because
I think
2001 that show was talked about years later, because I remember it was a janitor at Ball State that talked about it.
I had a janitor that was my partner from Muncie Central a couple years later. It wasn't at that show. It was me, him, Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes, and Chet the Jet versus Ox, Deuce and Domino.
Wow.
And God, I can see the guy plain as day. He was from from like New York area. His dad was a wrestler. He was a wrestler, but never made it WWE. I can't remember his Mike Cruel. So that was a couple years later. But that first year, I was in the Battle Royal, and I won. They damaged it through powder in my face, like out on the floor early. Rip wanted to get rid of me early because he didn't think it was really legit at all for me to stay in there the whole time and win. Right. So me and Damage had a little spot in the beginning. He tossed me through the middle rope, threw powder in my face. The football coach came out, got me, took me in the back. So then it was like Cena, Damage, and Nick, Eugene, and they had Nick like tied up in the ropes. So that was my cue I finally got all, I could see again. And then I hit the ring like a house of fire, baby. And they basically all eliminated each other, and I was the winner. So that's why I tell everybody to this day I beat John Cena. So you can't take that away from me no matter what. I beat John Cena. I'm going to go on the record right here on Developmentally Speaking and let everybody in YouTube land know that Von Lilas has a victory over John Cena.
There you go. That's legit. It happened. Right there. It happened. So,
So then I started training. Then next summer, I was a teacher, so when summer happened, Nick Dinsmore taught the beginner class in Jeffersonville at the old Davis Arena in Jeffersonville. And so I signed up, went down, paid my $500, I think it was at the time, for however long. And Nick was the teacher in that little bitty building. I bet we had, the first day I was there, I bet there was 60 people in that tiny building, wrestlers. This is a wrestling class. And I think there were 6 people that came in with me that day, like new people that signed up. And the next Saturday, this was a every Saturday class. The next Saturday, I was the only one of the 6 to even come back, the next Saturday or whatever. So I remember pulling up, and there was some big Indian dude with a mohawk and had tattoos all over his head. And he had headphones in, and he was doing free squats outside the building. And I pulled up. I was like, "Holy shit! What have I got? What am I getting myself into here?" But it was good, man. I took a bunch of bumps and learned some stuff. And the next day, I couldn't get out of bed. My neck hurt so bad. I mean, I could hardly stand it. I didn't think there was any way I was going back. And by the time, next Friday rolled around, Saturday, I was feeling okay. And I learned some things from the first day I was in there to kind of tuck a little bit better and not let my head go so much. And you just learn, and went back. And so for a long time, I just did it during the summer. So really my biggest, I guess if there was like a regret, is I never just at that time quit teaching and just went into wrestling, full time. It was always kept my teaching job. And I always coached. I coached 10 years of baseball. So a lot of it was summertime. And, even not during baseball season, when I was living in Muncie, even when school was going on, I was driving from Muncie to Jeffersonville every weekend. So every weekend during the school year, I would leave on Friday, go down there, go to class on Saturday. And then sometimes there'd be a show Friday night, not usually, sometimes. Saturday, go to class. I would always go to the Saturday night show, no matter where it was. Sunday, sometimes there would be a show. I would go to it, and then I would come back after that show on Sunday and then teach, and then go back down Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I did that for years.
Wow.
In the fall through winter until spring baseball started when I was the head baseball coach.
Wow. So, gotta ask, did from day one, did you do the finger thing, or did you learn that over time?
No, I don't know why I did it. Rip, if you watch any old promos of Rip, he did a lot of stuff with his hands and pointing and different things in his interviews and things. So I think really a lot of it came from just watching a lot of his stuff, and a lot of things he got from Valiant. If you watch he got a lot of his stuff from Jimmy Valiant. So I know. Watching old shit, pick up on it, do it, and then it just becomes kind of your thing, and people don't know about it because other people did it, 30 years ago. So.
Right, because you also did the Jimmy Valiant legs a lot too.
Oh, sometimes that was a straight rip-off, whatever Valiant. That's just when I was messing around. I never did that like when I was. I don't think anyway. Like when I was like on OVW TV as like Southern Tag Champ or OVW Champ. I didn't. I did finger shit, but I didn't do I don't think I did the leg shit there.
Right, but
I might have. I don't think.
The reason I remember the legs is he did it after chopping me.
Oh yeah, probably though. I did it. I would do it for fun at those kind of shows.
And I popped for it because I'm like, oh, this is the Jimmy Valiant legs.
Yeah,
for sure. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, is my mic too loud?
No, you're good. It's fine.
No,
fine.
So now that you were in OVW before the developmental system, what was it like after? They went to the new building. You're working with these people.
Well, so I was at the old building, but I was doing shows with the contract guys. So, it was my first day of class. I went that night to the Ramada Inn on the south side of Indianapolis and was in I think it was a 6-man tag. It was me, Travis Tomko, Travis Bain, whatever, Tyson Tomko. He went by a few names. And Damaja against Matt Morgan from Tough Enough. Matt Morgan, it was his first match. I think it was Conway, Matt Morgan, Conway, and God, I should remember my first. But anyway, I ended up taking the Matt Morgan choke slam. And we get in the back and before, and everybody's like, "Hey, what can you do?" Or what? I was like, "Today was my first practice." It was like can't really do. But Rip would just throw me in there. Rip, he just threw me in. I was in so many matches that I probably should never have been in, but that's the way you learn. So I was always with kind of those contract guys, even at that time. And a lot of them would come to the old building. They'd come to Nick's class. You'd be really surprised on how many of those guys would come to Nick's class to get some extra work in and really to learn from Nick, because Nick was Nick's the man. So
yes, absolutely.
A lot of those guys were coming and would work out with us just to get some work and learn from Nick. So then when they moved to the new Davis Arena in Jeffersonville, there was they did one of those like tryout camps. So I remember like Mike Mondo and Seth Skyfire and the Prophet and Tank Toland and Mike Taylor, God, a bunch of the guys that ended up getting signed. I think Beast was in on that. Shad Gaspard, he went by the Beast for a while. I don't think maybe not Jeter. It was after Jeter and those guys. But anyway, they started doing some of those tryout camps, and then OVW would invite you to OVW and then basically make you pay to come. So it's kind of a rib. Hey, you made it. Now pay us your money. But I guess they didn't bring everybody that came to them. They took the best of those tryout camps and let them come there. And a lot of those guys did end up getting contracts, majority of them. But at the time, they weren't under contract. So it was like me and a guy named Jerry Penders, which was Bam Bam Penders, which is now, I think, Trax. He's made like a comeback. He does a bunch of indie stuff. He's actually really jacked and doing really well. And he's probably about 38 now. Getting a lot of work all over the Northeast.
Good for him. But
Jerry Pender. So it was me and him, and then a bunch of those guys from the camps that weren't signed. I say a bunch, maybe 10, and then the rest contract. So we were in Rip's class with the contract guys. Everybody else was still in like a non-contract class. And it was pretty wild, man, because the guys they automatically thought you weren't any good because you didn't have a contract. Right. They automatically thought they were better than you because they had a contract. Treated you, depending on who it was, I would say the majority didn't treat you real good because they looked at you as a goof and you didn't have a contract. But it was what it was. Nobody was really an ass, But you learned a lot, man. It was awesome. And you also kind of saw after a while, like, man, a lot of these guys. Again, I'm not ripping on anybody. A lot of these guys, though, everybody's the same. Some people just have contracts. I shouldn't say the same. A lot of people were on the same playing field. Some just had contracts, some didn't. I mean, there was no real rhyme or reason why some people had contracts and other people didn't. I mean, besides the top. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There was plenty of guys in that class that would be like, oh, this guy's awesome. Oh, he's not under contract. Oh, okay. Well, he sure the hell looks like he should be. You know what I mean? Right. And that was the case when OVW first started sending guys in. I mean, you listen to interviews, they'll tell you, Nick, Rob, Damaja, those guys train, you know what I mean? They were better than any of those guys they sent in.
Absolutely.
When Cena and all those guys came in, shit. Mm-hmm. Orton, watch some of those old tapes. Yeah. I love Randy Orton. I think he's awesome. He was the shits when he came. He never really trained. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Nick was awesome. Nick wasn't under contract. So it was kind of the same thing with them at that time as when, not comparing myself to Nick Dinsmore by any means, but a mixture of non-contract with contract guys. Just, it's a tough deal.
Yeah, right. And that, you talk about Nick Dinsmore. We just did a show in Sevierville where he was at, and of course, he does the Eugene gimmick, but then when it was over, we were talking with him, and it's like, you're Nick Dinsmore to us, you're Mr. Wrestling, you're the Notre Dame knee pad guy, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
And then he stopped and he got up and he hugged us, and he's like, he felt appreciated that we were not calling him Eugene, and we know who you are, more than
Nick's the greatest, man. Yeah. I mean, I was in a match with him. At public school, something, Rip put me in a match with him. I don't know, day 2, day 3. I did a bunch of they do run amateur shows and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would go back and do a work with Nick and stuff. He is incredible, man. I'd say Nick and I would say Dolph Ziggler are the top 2 guys that can just do anything, call anything, do anything on the fly, not have to pre-plan anything, can work with anybody, make anybody look great. I mean, they can make Mortimer look great.
All right.
And nice. That's saying a lot, man, because I worked with Mortimer, and he is the shits. I couldn't make him look good at all. So
the charisma
they would make him even look good. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm a manager.
Yeah, those 2 are awesome, man. Nick is the man.
I was about to say it must have something to do with the name Nick, because because it's Nick Nemeth and Nick Dinsmore, but and then you go back in the past.
Yeah, I mean Nick Nemeth's awesome too, man. He was I mean, there's a reason he was the only Spirit Squad guy to come out of there.
Right.
So, not that the other guys aren't good. I mean, Mondo is. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's a terrible thing I just said. There's a reason that they couldn't even shit on him enough to get rid of him. I mean, he was that good. I think Mike Mondo. I would actually put Mondo up in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mondo maybe. Man, he can call it pretty good too. I mean, he might plan out a little more here and there, but man, Mondo could make anybody look like $1 million. Mondo is awesome. We're having Johnny Jeter on Friday on our show. I didn't get it. I had one match with Jeter, and Rip put it over big time. And Rip, even though he put me in a lot of stuff, he didn't really ever put me over with the boys too much at all. But I remember we had a match one night, and Rip came in the locker room and put us over big time. And awesome. I worked a couple matches with Jeter. He was always really good too.
Well, when you're talking to Jeter, make sure you remind him that he's supposed to be doing our show too.
Oh, bullshit, man! I'm not letting him come on your show. Come on, you gotta wait. You gotta wait like 90 days or something.
You gotta give us the rub, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Like.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Okay, right on. Cool. That works. So, you were a tag team champion and the heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
How many times did you?
I was with tag team champion first with APOC, Rick Victor of the Ascension. Mm-hmm. I think we were tag champs a couple times or whatever, and then he had to go back to Canada. I think for visa purposes, I can't remember. He had to go back to Canada, and so when he came back, I was the OVW champion. I'd won it from. I'm gonna mess this whole thing up too. I think I won it from Aaron. I know I won it from. I think that I won it from Aaron Stevens, Damian Sandow, Idol Stevens, and then APOC came back and he was. So we started a feud because then he was pissed because when he was gone, I went out on my own or whatever, and then he beat me, and then we had a long feud, man. I remember. We had a long feud.
Yeah.
It went a long time, and then I finally beat him in a ladder match. To get the title back, and then that's when my face got all jacked up and had to go to the emergency room and a bunch of shit, and I had some brain stuff going on, so that's when I kind of basically quit. I mean, really, I've done some matches since then, but as far as doing wrestling or wrestling full-time or trying to make WWE, I mean, I had an MRI and wasn't real good, so at that time, I was getting later in life, and because I started late, man. I didn't start until I was like 27, I think. Mm-hmm. So I was probably, mid 30s, I think, at this time. And so then I was like, piss on it. So I basically quit. That was it. Yeah. So I went and gave the title back. You had the 30-day deal, and I didn't defend it in 30 days. And me and APOC had this big thing in the ring. I was supposed to wrestle him. I came out in street clothes with the title. Face was all jacked up. We did this little thing, promo back and forth. Hugged it out. Did the thing with the fans. Got everybody cheering. Hugged it out again. I was leaving, and he hits me over the head with the title and pins me 1, 2, 3. And he was faking everybody out the whole time. So
there you go. That's storytelling. I like that.
It was awesome, man. Yeah, we had everybody sucked in, and then he smoked me with the title, and he won it back, and I quit. And then I don't know when he got signed. A year later, he probably got signed. So I always tell him I was the reason he didn't get signed. I was holding back. It took him to end my career for real for him to get signed. So I was Marty Jannetty to his Shawn Michaels.
Well, even though you never made it to WWE. You've got to realize, even if it's just from us, that, you, like I said, you were one of our heroes, Beaver Seymour. You made an impact on a lot of people being in OVW, and that's why we do Developmentally Speaking. We want people to realize that if things didn't really go the way that they wanted it to, or even if they did make it to WWE, they're known for more than just that. They're known for what they did in their developmental territories, because for us, OVW was wrestling. It was, I said this time and time again, and my parents couldn't afford to let me go to the big giant shows, to go to WWE. So to be able to go to the Seymour middle school gym or the high school gym or the Armory and see you guys perform, like you said, when you were a kid, you didn't realize that everybody didn't get to see this.
Yeah.
At that time, we didn't realize what we were seeing was so special because we were the ones that were only ones getting to see it.
I do always remember King Carl in the corner there, like.
I do remember King Carl always standing there in the corner. Yeah.
He's only managed me twice. One of them was in Seymour at the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
It was me versus Doug Basham in a singles match, and he was my manager there. And then, but he was always at all the shows because he was always hustling, working. He always sold the grab bags. He would put like pencils in there and find one like wrestling card or something. He would sell dollar grab bags and have them sold out. He'd have 50, 100 of them sold out in the first 10 minutes of every show. Man, he would sell everything.
That show stays in my mind because I always
the one from middle school.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
I can't remember if there was one or two there, but the one I'm thinking of was when there was like an ice storm and like
Yes.
You remember that one, and
Yeah.
like the interstate or something was closed,
Yeah.
and I remember the guys had trouble getting there and stuff. Like it was.
And I remember my mom saying, "I don't know if we could get you to that show," and but
It was packed.
My mom's boyfriend said, "No, we're going to get him to that show," and he took me. And
I think
that was the show that when he was against Doug Basham, and we got the call reversed at the end. Because,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was me and Bill McIntyre and Scott Herzl, and we were standing on the floor. Were you down there too?
I think Miss Jackie was sitting on my lap.
No, Miss Jackie was sitting on your lap at that time out in the audience.
I was distracted.
Yeah, but I was on the floor next to King Carl, and whenever the ref came over and said, "Did this happen the way it did?" And then Carl was like, "Ask them." We're like, "Yeah, it did." And they changed it over.
Yeah.
I always say I
think I rolled him up or something from behind.
Yes,
After
and
they.
that was my first taste of managing.
The main event.
So that's what got me hooked.
I remember the main event was Densmore and Damager.
Oh, was it?
It was Densmore and Damager was.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And they had the red tights on with the Notre Dame knee pads.
Who did Seven face on that show? Because I remember hating Seven on that show. He was earlier on in the card.
Yeah, I forget.
I remember just absolutely.
Mordecai.
Yeah, I was hating Seven on that show. I remember.
I think he wrestled that guy I was talking about, Jerry Penders. I think it was was it a handicap match? Was it like 1-on-2 that night? Did he beat up two dudes?
I think that sounds
He kept
right.
screaming at
I
us in
think
the
it was
audience.
Jerry Penders that night. I think I want to say it was a handicap match.
That
could be
sounds
totally wrong
right.
on
That
that.
sounds right. But yeah, like I said, like this right here, as excited as I'm getting, it shows you made a mark on my life, you made a mark on his life. And
Cool, man.
And we want to thank you for that, man. Like,
Well, it's good. I never felt like it at the time because I don't know. But
I had fun
I think the more I got into it, and once the contract left, and then we had more of a chance to shine. I felt more legit at that time, and what would happen is guys that would get fired, and then come back, and then they would be a lot more humbled. I mean, we had a lot of guys come back.
I remember
And,
Skyfire got released and came back for a little bit.
To OVW, I mean, and then Laurinaitis would come down and do some tryouts and different things like that. So, I mean, there was a time when we were practicing. I remember we were practicing when the WWE left. I remember we were practicing like Monday nights from like 8 to midnight or something, or that was one of our practices. We'd have 60 guys there. I mean, we'd have mats out all over the place, all over the building. We would chain wrestle for an hour. I mean, we would cardio was so good, just drenched in sweat. And we had an unbelievable roster, a talent. I mean, it was nobody on contract, everybody hungry as hell trying to get a contract. People looked good, people were in shape, people could work, call them on the fly. We were doing 2 or 3 shows a weekend, 2 or 3 practices a week. and 60 guys. It was incredible. It was awesome. There was about a year and a half run there where, I mean, it was awesome, man. Just awesome. So,
Fantastic.
Rip always told us at that time, boys, this would be the time of your life. And every time we get together and talk or do interviews with yes, he was absolutely right. That was the people got to the WWE, hated it. Not everybody, but totally different. Walking on eggshells. Yeah, you're making money. You think it's going to be your dream, but a lot of guys get there and it just sucks for them.
Yep.
So yeah, it was the time of life, man. But yeah, a lot of guys came back. I remember like Ryback came back, JTG came back. Nick of course came back. Rob came back.
I remember when
Chris
Idol
Gage
Stevens
came back. Aaron Stevens came back. Idol Stevens got fired and hired like 3 times. He was back. We had a bunch of guys come back. Mike Mondo came back. So yeah, we always had a lot of talent, and it's good times, man.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of good times, like he was about to say, had a great time with you at the Squared Circle Expo. Thanks for hanging out with us. That was really fun.
Thanks for.
Oh yeah, thanks for sneaking me in. You tried to bust me. You're like, hey man, I don't gotta. Kept trying to get me in trouble. Hey, I don't got a necklace or a tag. What are those called?
The pass or whatever. The badge.
The badge.
Yeah, you're all worried about it. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Nobody's gonna say. If they do say something, I'll figure it out. But
Yeah.
I wore ribs for a little while until everybody saw me with it on, and then nothing happened.
And thanks for trying to keep Rip in line that day.
It was great, man. So, Rebel, Rebel, what do they call her in AEW? Reba or what? Rebel, Reba, not Rebel.
It's Rebel, not Reba, right?
Yeah.
Rebel, not Reba. Yeah.
Oh, Rebel, not Reba. So she was there. She got me some vodka, so that was good. And she is so my buddy Jimmy. That used to be in Totally Awesome. I don't know if you remember Paradise from OVW. That's Paradise's fiance. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Huh. I didn't know
And then she was with Deanna Perrazzo too. So hanging out with them, that was really cool. Saw Heath Slater. I used to hang out with him a little bit whenever APOC would come back with WWE. They always traveled together, so when they were around, I'd hang out with Heath and APOC. So that was cool to see him. So I got to see some people, I hadn't seen in a little while. So that was fun. And you guys, of course.
That was the coolest part.
You guys
is
were there, so.
Everybody coming up, talking to Rip, thanking him. I thought that was really good for Rip and for everybody that weekend. Everybody coming up, showing him love and thanking him, and
you just never know because the things Rip says. I remember we went to a actually Orton got his tickets. Rip. WWE had a house show at the Pepsi Coliseum a few years back. I don't know if you guys went to that or not. And so we get to the show and we get in, and Rip goes right to the barricade, right to the back. And I'm just thinking, as much as shit that he says about like WWE and wrestling, is he gonna get back there and is he gonna have what do people say to him? Do people like him? Do they? I ask him. I'm like, he's like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
But it was like Fit Finlay, had him back, and Randy. And so I ended up going back at the end. Randy, we sat there for probably 2. It was Orton and Jinder Mahal in the main event, and after that was over, Flash Flanagan was there, and me and Rip and Randy Orton sat in chair, and Romer I think was there, maybe sat in chairs.
Romer's always there.
Probably 2 hours after the show, shooting the shit. I mean, literally everybody was gone. The cleanup crew was there for the the Pepsi Coliseum, basically like, hey, you guys ever gonna leave here? Orton's still in his gear, and just. And everybody was cool.
Yeah.
Which, I guess, if Orton's going to be cool with you and Fit Finley's going to be cool with you, then everybody else is going to pretty much fall in line. You know what I mean?
Sounds about right. Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I know. That weekend with Rip, it was. I remember him walking.
It was surreal for me. I
remember
honest.
him.
There's moments where I was like, whenever Ricky the Dragon Steamboat walked by, and Rip was like, Ricky Steamboat, and Ricky just kind of shrugged him off, and Rip was like, well, F you too, Ricky Steamboat. And Ricky was like, and they realized who it was. I'm just like, did I just hear that? Like, it blew my mind. It was so
I
cool.
remember when you guys went to talk to Rebel and Deanna and Rip, because I was right behind you, and Rip walked up and said what he said, and you're like, Rip, you can't talk like that in public like that. Because all the other fans were like, what did he just say? And they're like, it's okay. It's good.
Yep.
He didn't mean nothing by it.
He's cut down. He's cut down a little bit. We've got him. We've tamed him a little bit on the show, trying to get it out there a little more on YouTube. We actually get comments though. People get mad and they want him to cuss more. So
Right.
I do try to reel him in, and people the other way say, "Man, let him cuss." So
Well, the viewers
I
of
don't
this
know.
show know all about Rip. So if you're watching this right now and you want to get a whole lot more Rip, go over watch Lilas Studios
Look
because
at you plugging
you
away.
get a whole bunch.
that's right. Lilas Studios, Wrestling with the Rip Rogers, YouTube, baby. We are 962 subscribers right now. Once we get to 1,000, Rip is going to get drunk on air, Hawaiian Punch and vodka. He hadn't drank since 1986, and he's going to do it one more time when we hit 1,000 subscribers.
Are you going to have the Weasel on there with you too, or?
Hell no.
Dang. Okay. All right.
0% chance Manny the Weasel Valverde will ever be seen on Wrestling Rip Rogers. Wrestling with Rip Rogers.
Maybe
0% chance, Weasel.
Maybe we should get
Unless
him on
maybe.
Maybe we should bring him on our show.
What's that?
We should bring Weasel on our show.
There you go.
There you go.
Bring him on your show.
Yeah. So, I mentioned earlier there was you doing the legs, and I remember in a match that we were in together, and this was what year was it? Probably
It wasn't too far.
It was before I was with Emerald.
Was that the one Rip was supposed to go to and he forgot?
No, that was a different one, I believe. Yeah, it was a match that Mortimer Blankenship brought in Von Lilas, we were kayfabe cousins because you were actually really cousins with the guy who played my brother.
No, we weren't. You didn't say we were cousins.
Well, we said that you and
Oh, well, maybe
they-
you did. I don't remember any of that. Maybe.
yeah, well they said that you and Zach were, and me and Zach were supposed to be brothers in the show.
Oh, you guys are brothers? You
Yeah.
guys were brothers?
Yeah, I was
Oh, okay.
Morty and he was Marty.
I got you. All right.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were cousins.
No,
Oh.
you were the cousin.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, long story short, we did the match, and I had the home spot was I go for the tag and you jump down. And then I proceeded to get my ass kicked, which
I got chopped.
That was fun there, wasn't it? That was a good time.
it was a very good time. I recall you ripping like handfuls of chest hair out of Zach's chest, which was
Correct. And then I threw it up in the air.
Yeah, at one point you blew it, I think.
Yeah,
too.
maybe that
It was,
too.
yeah. And Zach still talks about that to this day, because I'm pretty sure. Didn't you tell him, "Hey, make sure you shave your chest before this match"?
I don't think so. No. No.
Well,
How'd those chops feel? They all right?
I've had bad chops. I've taken some really, really bad chops in my wrestling career. Bobo Brazil Jr. has really bad chops.
Oh yeah, he's lit me up a couple
Yeah.
times, man.
Bobo
Yeah,
Brazil
yeah.
Jr. has bad chops.
I don't like him, man. Yeah.
Eric Draven has bad chops. But I could legitimately say that this man's chop blacked me out. The first hit, I remember seeing it come in, and then I remember feeling something else and being on the mat. And then watching the video back later, I'm like, he hit me twice. I only remember one. So it was so it was so funny because we're in the middle of a church gymnasium, It was at the point, and Zach was holding me, and Johnny Justice was holding me, and he was chopping me. Well, apparently, after the first one, I looked at Johnny Justice, and I'm like, don't let this mother effer hit me again. I got to get out of here. And I don't remember saying that, but I remember him doing it, and I just couldn't breathe. My fat ass rolled out of that ring and literally crawled all the way to the steps because the locker room was upstairs. We had to climb steps. So, yeah, I remember crawling, and a lot of that was not selling. A lot of that was real. I'm like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, you just learn it after a while, man. The first match I was ever in, I was hanging out at the Armory. And I never really say this in my first match, but really it was. I was out at the Armory, and it was, I guess it was had to be OVW, I think, before any kind of contract. It was Rod Steele, it was Rob Morgan, Scott Sandlin, it was Jason Lee, Trailer Park Trash, Flash Flanagan.
Wow.
Damage was in it. I mean, you remember those guys? You remember
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Rip let me in that battle royal, and they just beat the ever-loving hell out of me. I mean,
Yeah.
It was, I had no idea I was going to be in it. I mean, I literally just took my shirt off and got in this match and just started getting killed. And Trash was like, sell it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. It hurts so bad. Like, I have to be, I felt like I had to be selling it. They were just killing me. And then fast forward several years after I trained, then I was in a battle royal, probably second day of class. And it was Flash and some of those guys, but contract guys were in then. And Flash went to throw me out. And I'd only had a couple days of training, so I knew to kind of get over the top rope. And he stopped, though, so it made it look like I was now running and trying to jump out like myself. And then he was like, where you going, you chicken shit? And so they beat the hell out of me that night, too. So then, you get in those practices, and Rip would do heat drills, and then you turn it up a notch, and then he would do chop drills. And you do 4-corner chops, so it was every corner, and then you reverse, and the other guy now goes. So the key I figured out was going second, because the guy gets you 4 times and it hurts like hell, and you start getting that pump and you just want to kill him. So all of a sudden one day in class, I remember it was against Mike Taylor. He had done it, and I just blew up, man, and I went corner to corner to corner and just hit him as hard as I could 4 times. I was so pissed off. I'd been getting the shit beat out of me so much. And Rip was like, holy shit, that's it. That's what we need right there. What you just did, that's it.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I was just kept doing it. And then people just quit messing with me. Because they didn't want to back. Once you start doing it, if you can do it and do it good, people quit doing it to you because they don't want to back. So it got funny later on when we would have battle royals and stuff. I could literally just stand in the middle of the ring and nobody would ever come to me. Battle royals are a big chop fest, right? So I could literally just stand there and nobody would ever touch me. I just, now not during the contract days, but later on, later on when I had a lot more experience and had beat some people up pretty good in OVW, and then they wouldn't.
Fantastic.
I'd just stand there and laugh. So, but yeah, you just learn, man. After a while, you just either learn to give it back, or
Yeah.
you just get beat up all the time. So
Yeah. We talked about Bobo Brazil Jr. He came over after the first or second time he ever chopped me. We're in the back, and he goes, Morty, come here. He goes, I like you. I don't like chopping you. He goes, if you don't want me to chop you, just rake my eyes. And I'm like, I can do that? Because it was early on. I was greener than do shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Okay.
What? Nope.
So every time he come over there, every now and again, it debate based on how big the crowd was. If there was a big enough crowd, I'd like, okay, that fine, screw it. I'd let him get one, and I'd sell the crap out of it. He'd go for a second one. I'd be like, okay, and run.
yeah, at the time, I did a couple of those Jerry Wilson shows at I think it was HPW or whatever.
Hoosier Pro, yeah.
And I had done some stuff, and then I think I was in a little, I can't even remember, a little group or something, but he had chopped me and I was being like a chicken shot. I just ran. I took off running. I just ran to the back. I never chopped him back or nothing. I just took off running. I didn't take any more. I was out of there, man.
Like frying pan hands.
I've seen people bleed from him.
I've made people bleed.
Oh, I bled from his chops. My chest was busted.
Bobo was. So when we did those Six Flags shows in OVW, and when the contract guys left, WWE would still send guys back to do them. I remember Cena came back and did one. Tommy Dreamer came back and did one. But then CM Punk came to do one. So it was me and APOC against CM Punk and Joey Mercury. And Punk had been out there the whole time doing like autographs and had a table and all that kind of stuff. So really we didn't talk about the match hardly at all. Literally like right before the match, they had a little intermission, but I think he was still signing, came in to like the trailer they had back there. And so we're kind of just going over as much as we can, like the finish basically. And Punk was like, okay, you know my shit. And I just don't know. I don't know what stuff's called. I don't know what people do. And APOC's like, yes, I can take all. I know it all. I can take it all. I was like, all right, perfect. And then Joey's like, I'll give you, he always did this, hooked your arm and did this DDT thing. So he's like, I knew what Joey did because he was in OVW all the time. I was like, all right, perfect. So nothing to do with the story, really. Me and Punk were in the ring together kind of early. And people were like asking me, like, are you going to chop him? Are you going to chop, CM Punk or whatever? I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to chop him. So we were in there doing something. And earlier on in my career, I wouldn't have. I would have been scared to. But at this time, I was like, man, yeah, I'm going to, if it helps me get noticed or whatever, or hell, maybe I want to fight. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to do it. So one time, I don't remember, he spun around and I just blistered him. I mean, it was so loud. It was so good. I didn't even have to do it again. I didn't want to do it again because I couldn't do it any better. And I remember after the match, we were talking about the match or whatever, and he's like, man, that was awesome. He said, I knew you chop people. He said, so I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to tell you to do it or not to do it. I just wanted to see if you would do it.
That's cool.
And he's like, I'm glad you did it. You needed to do that. I was like, awesome, man. And then we went to Ohio the next day for a show, and the ring truck wrecked and blew up and burned to the ground. And that tape was still in. I don't think anybody's ever seen the match to this day. That whole show got set to fire in the ring truck and never to be seen. That Six Flags show that night.
Wow.
So I'd never seen the show, never seen the match, don't have the match.
Yeah, that was a real summer sizzler then.
Yeah, you guys got it? You guys got that tape somehow?
I don't know. I could probably look for it. I don't know.
I've looked for it online. I've looked for it everywhere. Used to, I would just get them all from Danny. I would get whatever Danny would have.
Yeah.
And then I would burn them.
Right.
Danny Davis, that is. But this one was gone. That was their master. Their master blew up.
Yeah.
So unless somebody filmed it like there, I don't think that match or that show exists anywhere unless somebody filmed it there.
Oh, that's
Now,
that's
was this
losses.
match with Punk before or after you squared up with Hogan?
With Hogan? Oh, this would have been way after Hogan. Hogan, I never even wrestled before. Hogan, I was just an extra.
The SmackDown spot.
Yeah, I remember that. Too.
Hogan, I
remember
was a
popping
school
for that.
teacher, just getting started in training, and Rip called and said, "Hey, got you on SmackDown as an extra." Rip was working for WWE at the time as a trainer, so I went with Rip and Dan Garza, Diamond Dan, and sitting there, and then all of a sudden they came up. I was just sitting in catering, and they said, "You're going to do something with Hogan. You're going to be the Rock's bodyguard." And I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, all right. So they gave me a script. I mean, I could still say there's like 3 lines. I could still easily say everybody's lines right now. And I literally had like 5 hours to memorize these 3 lines. And then Hogan came and Stephanie McMahon came, and we went and filmed it. I was the Rock's bodyguard. The Rock wasn't anywhere to be seen, but his name was on the dressing room door. He did walk past a couple times, say hi. And the Big Show walked past once and said, "Wait a second, you're the bodyguard? Who are you going to stop?" Said that to me. I was like, "Ah, thanks, man." Stephanie and Hogan, we went through it like 7 times, and Hogan kept saying, "Oh, that wasn't good. I need some coffee. Somebody give me some coffee." And I loved it. It was never really my fault that we had to reshoot it, but I loved it because I had nothing else to do. Like, it's an 8-hour day, and you sit there and you've got, 10 minutes maybe to actually do something. So I love keep reshooting it or whatever.
Absolutely.
Gave me something to do and hang out with Hulk Hogan. And then we had to take it to Vince McMahon and let him watch it so he could approve it. So I thought that was pretty cool too. So that was the first time I met Vince. He was nice, shook hands, watched it. "Oh, I love it. Great," put it over. He was probably ribbing the whole time, but he put it over. Said how great we were. So
That's awesome.
it was cool, man. A lot of fun.
Well, I think that should be enough for today's interview. I do appreciate you coming on. If you like to come on and do it again sometime, we'd be more than happy to have you.
Or put us over, give us some of them subs,
Yeah.
Hey, we talked about your show. I think I said on when if you had ever watched our show, you would know this.
I've watched episodes. I've watched all of them. I've watched episodes.
The one we put out yesterday, I believe I said that I was coming on your show and put a plug in for your show. So there you go, man.
I haven't seen that one. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yesterday.
Sure to share
You
that.
should watch yesterday's show, episode 23.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, once again, thank you for everything that you did in OVW and just in wrestling in
man.
general. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And we will see you sometime soon, okay?
Anytime you want to go with us to a
should I do this?
convention. Oh, yeah.
Live the Studios, baby. Wrestling with the Rip Rogers, YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell, all that good shit. That's my plug. I got nothing else.
Thank you.
That's all I care about these days.
Hey, everybody, it's Morty.
It's Brian.
And thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys. And we'll see you on the next
Developmentally Speaking.